In this audio, I'm going to discuss the two sections in part one of Mulvey's essay, Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema. My discussion of these sections will be based on what I believe are the most relevant and the most important excerpts from Mulvey's essay. These excerpts will be displayed in the slides as I speak. In section A, entitled The Political Use of Psychoanalysis, Mulvey argues that certain patterns of fascination exist in all of us, and these structures of fascination are constructed by our individual desires and social demands. Using the framework of psychoanalysis, Mulvey is trying to find out where and how cinema strengthens the individual's already existing patterns of fascination. In order to do this, Mulvey takes as a starting point the ways in which traditional narrative cinema reflects, reveals, and even exploits the socially established practices of sexual difference. In her view, these socially established practices control erotic ways of looking. Mulvey believes that psychoanalysis can be used as a powerful political weapon to show how the patriarchal society has structured the film form and the cinematic experience. In her view, the mainstream society is phallocentric. Phallocentrism is the idea that the social world is organized with the male as the center. It is the belief that the phallus, or male sexual organ, is the central structuring principle of our social reality. In such a patriarchal society, woman's desire is always at the mercy of this image, and she can never go beyond her castrated identity. But Mulvey identifies a paradox at the heart of phallocentrism. According to her, it is the idea of woman's castration, the idea that woman is helpless and dependent on man, that gives order and meaning to the male dominated social system. In her view, the idea of a castrated woman is central to that system. It is woman's desire to compensate for her lack that subjects her to the phallocentric system. In other words, without the theory of castration, which acts as a linchpin or as a vital notion, a central principle, it is impossible to maintain masculine domination. In a phallocentric society, the dominant image of the woman is that of a bearer of a wound that never stops bleeding. No woman can overcome the barrier of her castration. Once the woman accepts her lack of a penis as an unavoidable fact of her life, she transfers the wish for a penis to a wish for a child, which she believes is essential for her entry into the phallocentric society or the symbolic order. Mulvey concludes section A with the hope that her feminist analysis of the patriarchal unconscious will give an accurate picture of the roots of women's oppression under the patriarchal system. In her view, women's ultimate challenge is to fight the masculine unconscious, which is structured like language, with a set of hidden rules to control and manipulate women's lives. In section B of part 1, entitled Destruction of Pleasure as a Radical Weapon, Mulvey talks about how cinema as an advanced representation system raises some serious questions about the ways in which the patriarchal unconscious structures ways of seeing and pleasures of looking. Hollywood has always been a tool for promoting the traditional concept of narrative cinema. The magic of Hollywood films lies in its skilled and satisfying manipulation of visual pleasure. Another important feature of mainstream traditional film is that the erotic elements are secretly presented or coded in the language of patriarchy. This section concludes with a summary of themes. This essay, Mulvey says, will focus on three interconnected themes. Number one, erotic visual pleasure in narrative cinema. Number two, the meaning of this visual pleasure. And number three, the central place of the image of the castrated woman in producing visual pleasure. Mulvey argues that this kind of visual pleasure should be attacked and destroyed because destruction of such erotic pleasure is a radical weapon to create a new language of desire. This is the end of part one. Now we'll move on to part two, which has three sections.